So 5 years ago, I did a video on how to grow ginkgo trees from seed. And I thought it's been a long time, so it's really past time for me to give you all an update to show you where they are now. So let's take a look at them and I'll show you a little bit about what's happened to them since then. So right here are two of the ginkgo trees that I have remaining. Not all of them made it this far. And part of that was because we moved in between and I kept them small in pots like this, where they really just didn't grow much of a root system. You can see this one's still doing okay though. It's small, it doesn't have very much good new growth off of it. It needs repotted, upsized to a larger pot. This other one here, however, I repotted last spring and has put on probably 12 inches or so of growth right up here in just the last year. And so it is doing fantastic, and I'll be ready to plant this out in a certain spot here in our new property before very long, but it's done really well. Now, ginkgo trees are what you call dioecious, which means that you have male and female flowers that are on separate plants. So there's a lot of trees that are like that. Another notable one is persimmons. You either have male or female. So, and I won't know which one is which until they actually start flowering. So it could be a while. Now the downside to ginkgo trees and female flowers is they produce a very messy and kind of smelly fruit. But the advantage of that is you can then gather that fruit up and plant and make more trees, which is really kind of cool. These things are just really neat trees. They are just gorgeous in the fall when they are all covered in gold. And the really cool thing is as soon as they drop their leaves, it like happens overnight. They just all fall down and you have this carpet of gold leaves all over the place. And it's just really neat to see. So the place I have picked out is actually a spot where it's got a very nice backdrop of evergreens behind it. They're just our native eastern cedars. And so I think the gold will look really cool in the fall with that kind of a green backdrop. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what this root system actually looks like here. You know, I've got some weeds that are pulling up into it. So we'll pull that weed out and just get rid of it. A couple others there. And so I'm going to tip this over so we can kind of see what the root system looks like. Be careful we don't hurt that plant there. All right, so I'm going to break off a little bit of this loose soil here. And it looks pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized clump right there. It's definitely ready for some expansion. You can see it's got some good roots down here at the bottom. And so I've mixed up a little bit of a compost and fir bark, pine bark shavings mixture, put in a time-release fertilizer into this pot. And I don't use that for like edible plants and stuff, but for ornamentals that you are going to be keeping in a pot for a little while, it's probably very helpful to have. So I've got a little too much soil in here. Let me change that out. I'll remove some and we'll add it back in as filler on the side. I think we got some of the original shell from the seed still in that pot. That's kind of neat. We'll keep that. All right, so let's put this guy back in here, just like this. And we want to make sure that we fill up to where the crown of the roots is. You can see a little bit of a color change right here. That would be the crown point where the roots start coming down and then the stem starts coming up. And we'll make sure we keep this nice and watered. So we'll fill up and around. And there we go. That's pretty good. So it looks like another weed stem here. We'll get rid of that. In fact, that might have been one of the other ginkgo trees that we had in here before. I'm going to need to add a little bit more soil. So let me come back here so I can fill it up a little bit higher than that. And then we will grow this on in a pot until it looks kind of like our other one over here and get some good height on it. I really don't want to plant them too early before they have about 2 to 3 feet of height or so. We have a lot of deer in the area, and of course we'll put some deer protection around it too, but the height will definitely help it out as it's trying to gather energy from photosynthesis and stuff. So we'll finish filling that all up. And then we'll give it a little bit of water, and hopefully we'll start seeing some good fresh growth now that it's got its new home and its new little pot. So I'm just going to fill it up till water runs out the bottom of the pot, making sure that the whole pot gets nice and saturated. Let it drain out. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and give some water over here to this birch tree. This is one that I grew from seed. It was a volunteer that came from our trees at our other house, and I repotted it yesterday to help it grow a little bit. I planted one birch tree, and that birch tree for some reason did not make it over the winter. So I'm hoping to put this back where that other one was. It's always nice to have a couple spares. Of course, you can actually take cuttings from the birch trees and get them to root. You would probably want something about this size right here from the stem tip down to about there. And I'll probably be trying that before too long to go ahead and get another one of these or two rooted so we have something else to add to the yard. So now that I've got this little tree watered, I'm going to leave it here in a shady-ish location for a couple of days so it can acclimate to its new pot. And then after that, I'm going to make sure that it gets put into the full sun. We'll keep it nice and wet throughout the summer, make sure that we're keeping it watered during any dry spells. And hopefully by fall, this will be at least as tall as the other plant. And next spring, we'll be able to get something that's maybe a 4 to 5 foot tall tree that we can plant somewhere else in the yard. One very interesting trait about this particular ginkgo tree is that all the leaves are forming this little split right here in the middle. It almost looks like a butterfly shape if you check that out. And that's really kind of cool. I can imagine in the fall, if these things are coming with their yellow fall color and looking like big yellow butterflies, that just could be a really awesome sort of ginkgo tree. So we'll keep an eye on this, see how it grows, get it planted here in the next week or two, and just see what it looks like this fall. I'm really excited about this one. Now, some facts about ginkgo trees. If you plan to plant one, plan to have a very large space for them. They can grow 50 to 80 feet tall, be about 40 foot wide. So you need to make sure that they've got plenty of room for expansion and that you're okay with it being in that spot. They also can live for thousands of years, so it is a very long commitment. You've got to be able to put it in a spot that you think is going to be perfect for it for a very, very long period of time. These trees, 3,000 years is not unheard of for one of these trees to live, and most of the time when they do die, it's because of external factors, maybe damage to the tree or something other than the tree itself, because they are very resistant to disease, insects, pests, all those different things. But it is a great tree, it's a beautiful tree, and it's an ancient type of tree. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's really cool to think that if I plant this in my yard 3,000 years from now, this might still be here. So I hope you liked hearing this update on these little ginkgo trees. I'm really excited by them. I wish more of them had gotten to this point, but sometimes there are factors. I mean, we were in the middle of a move, and the plants actually last summer got completely neglected during a really drought period of time. So it's really pretty amazing, and it is a testament to their resiliency that they were able to get through that drought without very much care at all and being in pots. If they were in ground, that's one thing, but pots, typically you have all this air, you have more dehydration happening, and so it really shows how tough of a plant they are. So I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. I really appreciate you watching. We'll catch you next time here on Growing the Home Garden.